Welcome to the Whitetail Obsession Podcast with Dave Richmond and co-host Chris Worthing, where we talk and teach everything deer and turkey hunting related. Follow along as we help teach you tips and techniques about hunting, food plots, and habitat management strategies that everyone can use.
Podcast one. Chris stops yapping. We'll start the podcast here. Podcast 126. In this episode, guys, I'm going to teach Chris how to plant Egyptian wheat because
Good.
he struggles with this, and it's like one of the only things he struggles with. But he's a knucklehead, and he never listens. And not to
Never.
brag, but I've grown some pretty impressive Egyptian wheat stands over my years, and
You have
We're-
not.
I have, and you were there to see it in proof, and proof's in the pudding. And we're going to talk about this in general because it's always been a pretty hot topic, and Chris is struggling, and like he struggles with his height a lot. But
Whatever.
this I got jokes, man. I'm on a Z-Pack.
Z-Pack.
So we're going to discuss this start to finish on Egyptian wheat screening. It could be a blend of different varieties or whatever, but in general, it's Egyptian wheat. It's an annual. It grows for one season and then it's dead. We're not talking about perennials like switchgrass or what's the other stuff? Miscanthus grass, nothing like that. This is an annual, straight annual. It has its benefits, but it also has some cons. Like I'm an ex-con. So let's discuss it.
You're disgusting.
Yep. So first thing first is you live what? Central PA? North Central, kind of?
Yeah, if you will.
Okay. So let's just say North Central.
Mhm.
Where Chris lives, on average, it's about 10 degrees cooler than where I'm at here in Maryland.
Always.
On average, it seems that way. And even when I had my farm over that way, near
Yeah.
Altoona, it was always roughly 10 degrees colder than it is here in
Yeah,
Maryland.
it's like 52 here now.
Yeah, that's about 55 here, but it's like a raining monsoon. But
Crappy day.
yeah, on average, 10-degree difference. Now in the summertime, it's roughly the same. It's a little cooler where Chris's is than it is compared to here. And Chris gets, in the winter, even now this time of year, he gets a lot of rain, a lot of cloudy days, a lot of armpit days, as
It's
Chris
the
would call
armpit
it.
of the world.
Yeah,
That's
armpit
why
of
I'm
the world.
always in a hoodie in my basement.
Right.
Everybody
Yep.
probably thinks I'm crazy. You're sitting there in a t-shirt and shorts,
Yep.
and I got a flannel shirt on with a hoodie. And
Yep.
people probably wondering what is the matter with that guy. But
Yep.
I'm in
So
my
I-
basement. It's always cold here.
Yeah.
You know.
I say all that to get to my point of every area has a frost date, average. When I was a little kid, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, like Chris is when he drinks hot chocolate,
Dumb.
my grandmother would always plant a garden. And I remember her saying back then, we're talking 30 plus years ago, Swiss Miss, yep, there it is, 30 some years ago, she would always say, May the 15th. You don't plant a garden until at least May the 15th. Reason being is because that's your average, you could still have a frost up to May the 15th. I kind of always, every area has a frost date. So when I was a kid growing up, I planted gardens with my father and things, and he still plants, and it's always May the 15th in my area.
Mm-hmm.
The further you go north, that frost date is going to extend further into May. Further you go down south, it's going to extend, early May, end of April, mid-April, whatever it is. You can easily find that out online. So when you plant food plots, you have to follow a frost date, your frost date in your specific area to prevent failures. The trend that I see, you see it too, is that it seems like each year people plant sooner and sooner and sooner and sooner, and they end up with fails and their plots are full of weeds and things. The reason being is we're getting these warm temperatures end of March, early April. You get that week or 2 weeks. It's like boom, it's like 70 some degrees. Then it gets cold again, and
Yeah.
plots fail, and we get rainy weather. It just they don't. The soil temperature drops. It gets cold again,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to understand is that when you plant a seed fresh out of the bag, you have to baby that thing because it's a tender seed. It's not germinated yet. You have to baby it along until it gets started.
Mm-hmm.
The reason weeds and grasses and things thrive when our plants that we plant don't is because those things have learned to adapt to coldness, low soil temperatures. They live out there 24/7, so they've been able to adapt to certain conditions. So when you plant and the soil temperature, even air temperature is too cold, our plants sit there just basically dormant, and it allows the weeds to overtake. When the weeds overtake, it shades out what we plant. Not to mention, it could possibly kill, what we plant.
Mm-hmm.
So I say all that to get to Egyptian wheat. Egyptian wheat loves heat. It likes warm soil temperatures. You really shouldn't plant it until you get a soil temperature of like 70 degrees. Like it loves it. And it's one of them things where I have a video on my channel. I think it's called Egyptian wheat in 5 days, I believe. But when I planted it, I recorded it in 5 days. It was up probably 2.5 inches. Reason being, I had warm soil temperatures. I was able to time it perfectly. You can't always do that, but I timed it perfectly with weather. I prepped the soil. I had zero weeds going into it. And that Egyptian wheat grew about 2.5 inches in 5 days. It grew 10, 12 feet tall, no weeds. Added the fertilizer, lime, it was corrected. The fail, and I'm not bashing Chris because he struggles with this and he never listens. But I want him to have success with it, but he struggles every year. He either plants it, I could be wrong. He either plants it too thick.
You're always wrong.
No, he either plants it too thick, too thin, too early, and it stunts itself and it gets overtaken by weeds. That's the consensus that we come up with here. He struggles with this. And he does the same thing every year. It repeats itself. It's like wiping before you poop. It doesn't make sense. And
Definitely
I got
wrong there.
I got jokes today. And so we're going to talk about this, and it's not just Chris. Other people, I struggle with all kinds of stuff, but um a lot of people struggle with this, and the reason is because you're not handling the weeds properly, people are planting it too early, and the Egyptian wheat gets overtaken by weeds. The other fail is it's too thick. Um, you put too many seeds in that whatever it is, 4, 6, 10 foot wide strip. You put too many seeds in there, and it's just like when you plant brassicas. If you plant too many brassicas, close confined too many seeds per acre, it stunts itself. It's the same thing with Egyptian wheat. You have to plant that stuff to allow that stuff to expand and grow. So, Chris, tell us your struggles here. Like, I feel like I was A+ on point with my definition of your struggles with EW.
my my struggle is uh I can't get any warm temperatures here. So
Because you
we got
planted too early.
well it never reaches freaking soil temperatures of 70 until July 4th and August.
No, you're high
Yeah.
as a kite. No,
Yeah. Yeah.
no,
Yeah. It's 52 degrees up.
that's right now.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you waited another 2 weeks or 3 weeks, it would be adequate soil temps. You'll be
Possibly.
in you'll be in June, son. You have warm temperatures.
Yep. Possibly.
Right. So you planted too early.
Possibly.
Quit fighting it. Admit.
Possibly.
But what is it now? Is it what 2 inches? What?
Yeah, it's
And
little.
it's been in this ground for how long?
About a month.
A month.
Yep.
So you
Yep.
planted in frickin' April?
Oh, what is this? This is May,
It's May
May
27th or whatever.
27,
28th.
28, something like that.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah,
on this podcast slap this man.
I had some extenuating situations. I wanted to get it in before the wedding because I knew after the wedding I'd be messed up with time and things. So, yeah, I did jump the gun a little bit this year trying to get stuff done before the wedding, but eh, it is
So what
what
are you
it
gonna
is
do?
now.
You gonna
I don't know.
replant it or what?
I don't know what I'm going to do. I got to wait and see what it's going to do. If we ever get some warm weather, we'll see how it reacts.
Is it overtaken by weeds or it's just stunted?
No, the weeds the weeds are stunted. There ain't nothing out there more than 2 inches.
Hmm.
It's crazy. Even the weeds. It's
It's
just,
snowing. It's gonna snow.
I'm telling you. Now, the only thing that's high over there is, uh, what's the word? Volunteer wheat.
Mm.
There's volunteer wheat that's like 8 inches high. It looks like my Egyptian wheat. you know, it's it looks like I actually planted it. It's gonna make a better screen than what I planted.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I gotta wait for the weather to trim up here. I don't. It's something like next week. Is it next week? I think next week we're supposed to get in the 70s, and have to wait, see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, most times that I found too, like even at like in Altoona, where the old farm was, I didn't plant till Memorial Day weekend.
Hmm.
Um, just because how cold it is out there. Um,
Yeah,
but even I mean, Egyptian wheat doesn't have to be planted right away. I mean, sometimes it's best if you can get moisture in your area, in early June, mid June or so, even end of June, you can plant it and it'll be appreciable by the time hunting season starts. You don't need it, 15 feet tall.
no,
Um,
no,
I mean, the taller it is anyway, the more likely it would be to blow over, on
yeah,
heavy rains. If you plant it later into the summer, late spring, I should say, um, you can get it 8 feet tall or maybe even 10 by the time
yeah.
hunting season starts.
Well,
So
I was hoping to bank on all the moisture that was in the forecast, and we sure got that. Um, it's just been monsoon and mud season here, and that's
monsoon.
that's actually very bad for my situation. It's not helping
Hmm.
because what has come up is starting to turn yellow. It's got too much moisture now, so
Right.
I don't know what to do yet. I have to wait it out and see what happens.
We have
Who
to call
knows?
Domain and get some more incognito
I might replant it. We'll see.
and tell them the reason why you need more because you planted too early. You failed.
Whatever.
You failed. You were smoking a J. You lost track of time and you failed.
Can't control the weather.
You can if you wait longer.
Nope.
Yeah,
Nope.
Chris is
Because then we get the drought.
he's steaming. I see steam coming out of his ears.
Then we get the drought.
I see a light bulb too.
Did you notice that the last 3 years have droughted?
Yeah, I know. It's
And
been
when
it's
you
been
look at
terrible.
um the what's that called, the forecast that comes out, Farmer's Almanac thing.
Hmm.
I don't know. I was listening to something on the radio, and it was talking about the Farmer's Almanac, and they said there was this drought trend that came upon us the last couple years, and for some reason they were saying that droughty condition was going to be over. for a little while, for some years to come. And like, I don't know how they forecast this crap, but it seems like they know what they're doing somehow.
Right.
I guess best on, I guess ba- based on trends and things, how history repeats itself. I'm assuming is how they do this, but
Maybe.
somehow they were forecasting better weather patterns for us, um, because it's just been so much drought and then monsoon and then you would get drought again, and it's hard to do food plots in a situation like that. Even the farmers in the area were hurting.
Hmm. I
um
know when I went to,
I mean, and they're supposed to be the guys in the know, and
right,
yeah, boy, the what few farmers we have left around here, man, they struggle, especially like with that condition I was just saying. They had stunted corn, and a lot of them didn't even get corn. Like they chopped it, for feed. Like it
stunted
was,
like you.
well, it didn't amount to anything and have ears on it and stuff. If
You're
it did, it
stunted.
had like one or two per stalk, and it just wasn't worth it for them to even waste the fuel, and everything to harvest it. So they just went ahead and chopped it.
You're stunted. I know when not all of them, but a lot of the clients I went to this past winter, a lot of them were talking about, you know, planting in the spring with the drought. A lot of
Yeah,
them, have failed, between planting and, May and early June. They're like, what do we do here? Like, if we have this type of situation, like, what do we do? And
yeah.
I laid it out different ways on what they could do. But I mean,
Sometimes you could just wait, you
yeah,
know, and it's
yeah. I mean,
it's it's tough to do. It messes with your mind, you
right.
know.
And you don't
But
always have to plant, a spring food. I mean, I know, if it's in your plans, to do it and then it doesn't work, but it's not the end of the world. You just can
no,
wait and just plant a fall food plot.
yeah,
But I have noticed too, the past couple years, it's hard to get a rain in the fall
yeah,
to plant
it
your fall
is.
food plot. You get that drought,
It
the
is.
end of August, early September. So
Yeah.
that's been tough too the past couple years.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I was saying about, you would you would get the drought all summer long, and people are waiting and waiting and waiting to plant. And then they see rain in the forecast, and they hurry up and get the seed in, and then it's dry again
Hmm.
for
Remember that year we planted
extended
at the farm?
amounts of time.
Remember that where it was so dry and we were actually rototilling the fields and it was like a dust bowl.
Yeah, that was when we had that orange one.
Orange
Yeah,
one.
the orange or red from Dunlap.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The
Yeah,
tractor.
the
Yep.
tractor.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was dry. Like, I mean, it was all summer. I mean, it was bone dry. And
Yeah, it
then we
was.
finally, whatever that was, end of August probably. If we finally, I think I came back the second day to finish up, and I was planting the food plots in the rain, kind of like
Yeah,
kind of like you do. Always get caught in the rain.
right.
Um,
Well, and that was another thing. Yeah, I was I was going to be able to plant without rain for once.
right.
Mm.
So with that said, what let's discuss a few things on what to use Egyptian wheat for.
Mm.
So what are some ideas? What do you use it for when you plant it at
Well,
your
I
properties? What do you use it for?
I have two reasons.
What's the two reasons?
Mainly, uh, I have to block off food plots from roads,
Hmm.
and um, I'm not I'm not actually, a lot of people say, "Oh, you need it for access, to sneak in and out." Well, I don't necessarily use it for access because that spot's an evening spot only. That's
Hmm.
all it is. That's all it is. You couldn't sneak in there in the morning. You would just blow everything out.
Right.
So I don't worry about the access part of it. my intentions is to block off from the roads or from neighboring properties and things, just to make deer comfortable. And the other reason is I just use it as funnel.
Mm.
Um, I separate plots with it, but
Hmm.
I V it down to my tree stand, and they tend to not walk through it necessarily, so they walk around it, and that brings a shot. Uh, it brings, man, I can't think today. Jeez, that brings a shot opportunity. The deer walk and they come to the edge of that screening, and then they walk the edge of it and they come around it because I leave it open on the ends,
Hmm.
and they walk right in front of me to get to the next block,
Now let
and
me
that
ask you this,
creates
and
opportunities.
you're gonna have to think for a minute, but think back on all your hunts over
Mhm.
there with Egyptian wheat. Have you ever noticed? Okay, let me ask this: are your Egyptian wheat screens straight or are they like curved mainly?
Mine are mainly straight.
Okay. Have you ever noticed that deer they don't walk the edge of the Egyptian wheat? Have you, or do they walk the edge of the Egyptian wheat? So if the so they are they walking parallel with the Egyptian wheat?
Yeah,
They are.
yeah. A lot of times they will walk it. I mean, they're not for no extended period. I mean, they're not
Right.
going to walk 50 yards down the line,
Hmm.
but they'll angle toward it, and then they'll walk it the very
Okay.
edge of it, just for the basically to get into the next block.
Yeah.
They'll walk that edge and then turn in.
I noticed. Reason I asked, I noticed at the old farm where I planted a lot of Egyptian wheat. If it was in a straight line, I couldn't get them to really follow the Egyptian wheat.
Mm,
But the last year, I curved it. I made it into like an S, and that made them kind of walk that whole thing
mm,
because they couldn't see. I guess that's my assumption. They couldn't see straight. In the straight line, they can see all the way down the other end.
mhm,
When I started curving it, they get up close to it, they can't see past the first bend. So then they walk a little bit further to that bend, then they walk the next bend, then they walk the next bend. So I was able to use that kind
yeah.
of to allow them to funnel them better toward my tree stand.
Mhm.
Um, but that's what I used it for over there was mainly part of it was access, but the other one was just to kind of split the fields up, you know.
Yeah.
And we've been there many times where it was split up and you'd have, I don't know, 8 deer over here feeding and then 8 deer over on the other side that just kind of separates them and
Yeah.
they can't see each other. They can hear each
Well,
other, but
how about this? Have you ever had deer eating it?
one time I saw them nibbling on the the
Yeah.
stalks of it.
Well, like last year was crazy year since we had the drought so long and it stunted out. It stalled out at like 2 or 3 feet for like a whole month.
Mhm.
They started eating the tops of it off.
Mhm.
And I mean, since the browse in the area, the browse line's so high, and that was, fresh green stuff. I assume that's why they was starting to chew on it, and eating the tops off. Um, so I mean that shouldn't surprise me. But how about when it matures and gets that seed head on top? Did you ever see them? If you had one bent over and they could reach it, did you ever see them chewing on the seed head? See, I have.
Mm-mm.
I've videoed some doing that. Um, because I mean, 100%. You listen to anybody talk about Egyptian wheat or sorghum, they're like, "Oh, the deer don't eat it." Well, actually, I maybe not eat the stalk part of it, but the seed heads, I have seen them chewing off the seed heads, um, which shouldn't really surprise us either because farmers they they will plant a whole field of sorghum and chop it and feed it to
Mhm.
cows. I mean, so
Mhm.
there is actually some sweetness to it and some nutritional value to it, you know. So it shouldn't
Well,
really surprise people either. But you will hear food plotter people say, "Oh, deer won't eat Egyptian wheat or sorghum." Well, I would argue
well,
that.
in deer hunting, never say never.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
you saw
they,
deer eating ferns.
yeah, I seen them eating ferns too. I mean, and I recorded that and put a video out about it, and uh, didn't get any argument about it. But yeah, it was just like one of the misnomers. It was
Yeah.
proven fake news, you
I
know.
only time I seen it, I was at the farm, and it was later in the season. It was probably October or so, and I had
Mm.
a little section where the Egyptian wheat didn't grow as tall, and the stalks kind of flapped, the leaves flapped over. I
Yeah.
saw a doe come over, and she was nibbling on it, but I mean, it
Hmm.
wasn't anything like extensive, but
Right.
she definitely ate it.
Yeah. I mean, my father-in-law was a farmer, and he used to plant sorghum for the fact of, like I was just saying, he would chop it, you know.
Hmm.
And I mean, and it basically looks like corn stalk, you know, and I'm sure inside the moisture content and stuff that's in it, you know, it would probably ferment and things just like the corn does. So,
Hmm.
you know, he actually had silage pits, is what he called it, and he would dig a big pit into the hillside, and uh, he would elevator or blow it out all this chop into the hillside, and then he would cover it over with a tarp. And I mean, you could probably got drunk as a skunk off that stuff in the summertime after it would rain and all that stuff would seep out of the hillside there. It smelled so good. It smelled like, well, I don't know if you'd call it good, but it's to me,
Price smelled like formaldehyde.
yeah, well, it smelled like whiskey almost, you know.
Whiskey.
Yeah, it smelled like whiskey coming out of the hillside.
That's why you're drunk 24/7.
Oh boy. I mean, it smelled good. That fermented stuff. But yeah, they will nibble on it,
Hmm.
especially, just out of curiosity sometimes. But
Right.
yeah, mainly the seed head, not necessarily the green leaves,
Hmm.
unless it's just coming out of the ground. Like I said last year, I took you over and showed you that. I showed you how they chewed off all the tops of it. It was pretty weird. I never had that happen before.
It was a groundhog.
Well, it's too tall to be groundhog,
It was a
but
giant groundhog.
giant groundhog. I don't know, but yeah, it can be tricky with soil temperatures and just weather in general. And I've had some really good years. I've had some rough years. Like last year was kind of stunted. It only got to, like, I think I best I had was 6 or 7 feet last year with that drought.
Hmm.
Now this year, I don't know what's going to happen. Uh, I gambled and probably lost, so we're gonna have to fall back and punt here. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Uh, I don't know. Have to see if it takes off. If it don't take off, I think I'm just gonna plow it all under.
Hmm.
You know, Couple jugs of seed and you're back in action. It's not a big deal.
Right.
So it's not something that you can't fix. It's just I'm just trying to wait and see if it happens. If it takes off, well then I'll sit back and be okay. But if not, we're gonna disc it up and I'm gonna spray it like crazy. Because that's another thing. If you go too early and you know you got a prepared seed bed and it looks great, you don't see any weeds and you plant, and then you get a rain, and then next thing you know, it's green popping up everywhere, and that's your weeds coming. You know, a lot of people, yeah, the internet was going crazy. They wanted to spray for weeds already. Well, if you spray too early, first of all, it needs to be warm enough to spray. But if you spray too early, there's weeds that aren't even r- mature enough. They're coming. You might kill a couple of weeds that are already popped, but there's still some to follow. Some late bloomers are coming, and they're usually stronger yet. You know what I'm saying? Like the ragweeds and stuff like that, because they come at you a little bit later in the summer.
Yep.
And a lot of
Ragweed will
guys,
get you.
well, a lot of guys will spray too early, and they'll miss that. And
Mm-hmm.
they'll think, yeah, I took care of the weeds. And, 3-4 weeks later, it's like, holy crap, where'd all this come from? I just sprayed, I sprayed and I got weeds, Well,
Ragweed will tear you up, man. That stuff comes in later in the summer and it
mm,
smothers you out.
yeah. Yep.
All right, well, that's 126 Egyptian wheat.
Egyptian wheat
I
and
love it.
sorghum and hybrids.
Yeah, I like it. I like planting it,
Yeah.
and it can be good in certain situations. Obviously, it has its cons, but it also has
Mm-hmm.
some pros. So, any questions on Egyptian wheat? Let us know, and we'll see you guys on 127.
See you.